We've made it 8 shows in without you fucking the sound up, Craig.
Finally managed it.
Hey folks, what are we drinking tonight?
I have, I'm just going to show you the label. It's a little bit more interesting than last week's. It is a Chilean bottle of Malbec.
And that is from the West End of Aldi, I believe.
Southeast.
Southeast, okay. Becca, what you want?
I have tea again. I'm sorry, I'm now being sober and sensible and I have given up drinking. So forever on, I will be drinking tea.
So I am drinking a Wayne Gretzky hazy IPA.
That clearly has the number 99 on it as well.
It does.
I'm very glad to hear that you're not drinking a Middle Eastern country this week.
I'm also glad to hear, as we know, Kerry purchases your alcohol, and Kerry does this based on how you've performed this week, Craig. Wayne Gretzky, one of the GOATs of ice hockey.
This is not one of. He is the great one.
So you have had the best week ever. Where do we go from here, Craig? Do you just have to retire? Does Kerry just take you out to the farm, you know, where that goldfish went, and he had that great week, got the Gretzky, off to the farm with him?
Maybe he needs to have a goat for every different sport.
Wayne Gretzky probably has a goat for every different sport. Roger Federer won a cow. Wayne Gretzky probably has goats. Anyway, animal nonsense a lot earlier than normal, and we're not that drunk. I am tired though. So, James Bailey, what have we got coming up this week?
You've jumped ahead way on the schedule. You're confusing me
I couldn't
now.
remember whether the schedule was Herd Summer Racing League or the whole series. So what have you got on your screen that you'd like to tell us about?
So this weekend, I can do both of them actually. I'm very multi-talented. This weekend on Herd Summer Racing League is a touch on the unpleasant side. It's definitely up there with Surrey Hills. A single lap of Innsbruck's Achterbahn. Racers will head up the KOM reverse before descending, then taking on the reverse sprint, then the forwards KOM, descend, and then the forward sprint, and then dash to the finish. The route is 47.8 kilometers long, and there is 999 meters of climbing involved. Sorry.
So I'm going to start controversy. I fundamentally disagree that this is worse than Surrey Hills. Surrey Hills was awful. It was 5 hills. Some of the hills weren't announced and never stopped. Achterbahn is 20 minutes. Then you have a nice rest. Then it's another 20, 25 minutes. Then you have a nice rest and it's all over.
I'd rather do a long hill than hill repeats personally, because I think you'll build fatigue into your legs more with a series of, I guess, 7 to 15 minute hills than you would do, especially with this hill, because it's, you know, it's a sort of gradient where you can get yourself into a rhythm, especially on the forward side. The reverse is a bit more spiky, but forwards, I think it's a longer climb, but I think it's a nice climb.
Are you forgetting that you have to do the leg snapper and the other side of the leg snapper?
Yeah, I've erased that from my memory.
So I think both of you are insane. There's no way that these two climbs are not worse than the climbs on Surrey Hills.
I don't know what it is. I just get, with a short climb, like 7-minute climb, I know I have to do above FTP and I cry and I never do above FTP. With a 20-minute climb, I sit my FTP and I climb it well. But let's be honest, I'm on a stag do this weekend, so I'm going to be eating meat and drinking red wine while you guys all chase pixels. So people who are actually riding this weekend, how are you going to tackle this? And none of you riding.
I am going to ride.
Why are we even here?
I am going to ride, and the correct answer is hit the primes.
So I think the correct answer is hammer the primes, Craig.
Hammer the primes.
I hate to correct you on your own catchphrase, but
no, but it's hit the climbs as hard as you can survive, and then give everything you've got on the sprints. That's the format. That's what you have to do.
And if people are targeting, so how sensible is it's a 20-25 minute climb, you're probably just going to do FTP for that, aren't you? It's going to be a struggle to be doing much above that for most people.
Well, I mean, so someone is has done closer to 18 minutes than 25, but that's a different story. I'm certainly going to attempt to be a little bit over FTP, but that's going to hurt.
The only time I've raced this recently is when we basically finished at the top hour. So it's a lot easier just to full guess it all the way. So I'm not actually sure what to be aiming for on this hill.
Yeah, so right, it's a fairly simple course, isn't it? You go up a hill, you come down a hill, there's a little bugger of a hill, you go up a hill, you go down a hill, there's a little bugger of a hill, and then you finish. Key things on hammering those primes, questions I've got for you then. Can we draft on the hill? Do we think it's shallow enough in places that it's going to be benefit of being in a group?
Forwards, yes. Reverse, no. Forwards, I think you're averaging your 5-6%.
6%.
Whereas reverse, I think, is 8%.
You got it.
So I think, yes, you can draft forwards because you'll be going fast enough to do so. But I think unless you're up in Becker's league, then you're probably going to struggle to effectively draft on reverse. But there'll be an element of draft, but you're probably not going to be going fast enough for there to be useful draft.
And the reason I ask that is there's definitely advantages being in a group on the descents. They're long descents. If you're in a group, there's definitely advantage to that.
Absolutely.
And if you're in a group, there's definitely advantage on sprints. And there are sprints on this. So there is definitely a group advantage to be had on this course, but it's still a prime. You've still got to go up the hill as fast as you can. So maybe the first half of the race, we're thinking about, do I sort of save a bit to stay in a group or push a bit harder to make sure I'm in a group? And then second half of the race, you're definitely hammering the prime. Craig, I can already see you disagree. Let's go to you.
Nope. Hammer the prime. So, I mean, honestly, it's the climbs on this are so long that your times on the climb are going to dictate your finishing order completely. I don't, unless somebody's really close to you. I mean, you can attempt to group up after the end of the climb, but there's not going slower on the climb in order to draft people until the next climb is, I don't think, going to pay off.
So I'm interested in that. So how many prime segments have we got? We've got four. And the fifth is obviously, so we've got 2/3 of the points, 1/3 of the point, and we have one prime, which I'm suggesting we go slower for. So that's by my crude maths, I think that makes it a 50-50 split between my one prime I'm ignoring and the end GC primes and the primes that you go for going through them as quickly as you can. So my arguing with your argument, is it worth sacrificing the one to do several quicker because you're in a group?
I think also you need to look at the fact, so is it the first climb or the second climb that you're potentially thinking about slowing up slightly? You've gone faster than this person on the first climb. You've got another climb to come. So you're going to assume that you can do the same on the second. So yes, they might be slightly heavier than you. Yes, they might overtake you on the downhill, but yes, you're probably going to catch up to them on the second hill.
And my argument is more around the sprints because you are 100% quicker in a group on a sprint. It's just, just so,
no argument.
So different on sprints. I've done sprints on my own and come nowhere. I've done sprints in groups and I'm just seconds faster. So there are definitely points to be had by being in a group in the sprints. It's how many points do you sacrifice on a hill for that? Anyway, this is all very esoteric and I don't think there's a right answer. And I'm probably not going to ride it. So who cares? Let's go to James. What's happening this week in the Herd Racing League events? Selection of the above. And more importantly, James, in which order are we going to discuss the week? Well, I'd like you to go Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Inventor Day, and then come back to Monday, please.
I've actually reorganized my spreadsheet so it's in day order, which is very, very advanced.
I am punching the sky in celebration.
Rather than the order of which I created the series. We obviously have Actabarn for Summer Racing League. We then move on to Herd of Mountain Goats over Sunday and Monday, which we have a lap of Muir in the Mountains, which is you got 767 meters of climbing. You have Reverse Titans, Forwards Epic, no radio tower, and then reverse tightens again, finishing at the KOM banner. After that, on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we have Stampede. Let's say no draft events, open bike selection, first over line wins. That's a single lap of a big loop. So with that, you have the jungle and the epic KOM finish on the Watopia Pier. And then we very excitingly, and we'll come on to this in a minute, we have the first event of the SHE-ries, which is an 8-kilometer dash to the top of the Bologna Hill. And then on Wednesday, we have 18 laps of Bell Lap in Crit City in our multi-lap points race, where at the end of each lap, you will score up to 50 points, depending on your position in your category, with double points available on the final lap.
Nice. And for some reason, the days being in the correct order has confused me more. I'm going to step back slightly to Actobahn because we forgot to discuss which bike we'd ride. Clearly, it's the Pink Tron. There is some debate on this one that actually the Tarmac Pro and Millis might be the better combination to go for with the advantage it gives you on the hill.
We had a bit of a discussion in our group about whether if you got dropped off the back and you were by yourself, you should swap to a TT bike at the top of the hill.
I tried that in ZRL this week and discovered they banned TT bikes. TT bikes.
I haven't banned TT bikes.
So yeah, I think if you're on your own, there could be some benefit of doing a bike swap at the top of the hill. You can go fast.
With that, Becca, so you bike swap at the top of the hill, you get down to the bottom of the hill, you do the flattest bit. When you get to the top of the hill, do you change back to Tarmac Pro?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you mean the bottom of the hill?
Yeah, I mean bottom of the hill.
Okay.
So you do the sprints on the TT bike so that you get more speed and do the descents on the TT bike, because if you're not going to get caught by anybody, why not?
So that's the if you're on your own option. If you're not on your own, we're in Tarmac Pro V-Trons. There's not much in it. From what I can tell.
Yeah,
Tarmac you've Pro. Got a spreadsheet, haven't you?
Yeah, so I've got Tarmac Pro, the Cannondale Evo, and the new Bridgestone are all the same bike, which is actually kind of fun. And your two wheel options of Zip 353 are lightweights. So that's one of those is going to be your best climbing setup versus the Tron. I don't think anything else really makes sense. And to me, this is one that's really funny because the field is going to spread. Just with two really long climbs, the field is going to spread. So the prime scoring is all on time, but you're not going to be finishing with people. So it's almost, I mean, you're still only talking a few seconds difference on the climb and maybe a couple tenths difference on the sprint between those two bikes. So really it's where do you expect that you're going to have, which primes are you going to have people finishing closer to you? Where are you going to be in a clump? And so if you're going to be in a clump on the sprint, then use the Tron. If you're going to be a clump on the climbs, use the lightweight.
I'd ask the question as somebody who's now dropped back to C's again, so might be a bit closer to the front of the race and therefore not be thinking about GC a bit more. Is the lighter bike really worth it? So it's a few seconds at the top. Arguably get that back on the descent with the Tron because we know it's quite a fast flat bike and you probably do better in sprints against people who've picked the lightest bikes. So yeah, I'm still saying Tron.
So I think you might be right. I mean, you've got to then when you start getting into that on sticking with the group or not, some of it is if you're on a lightweight bike and finish the climb with the group and have the draft down the hill, is a guy on a Tron behind that's 2 seconds behind you going to catch up?
And this is why we love talking endlessly about this. So to round up this, which ever seems to get longer segment, and talk about something that's actually cool, I think we're saying there's not much between the Tron and the lightweight bikes. If you haven't got the Tron, go with your lightest bike, I think is the advice we're giving it.
Also, if you have a Magic 8 Ball, give it a shake.
Sometimes may change. So heard SHE-ries. Let's try and say this. James, you spelt this out loud and it made everyone more confused. This is the heard SHE-ries. So this is Herd's Women's Racing Series, isn't it? So week 1 of this week. What day is it?
I'm really, really excited about this series. I'm
He's just going to ignore my question. You're that excited. Remind us when the event is. James.
I am going to answer your question, but I'm just going to blurb a little bit first. I'm really excited about this series. I'm a little bit sad for obvious reasons, but I can't take part. It will happen on Tuesday. The first stage is the 8-kilometer route in Bologna. Scrap to the top, staggered start ITT, fastest time wins. We also, I'm just going to quickly run through the schedule for the rest of the events. We will have 2 laps of Innsbruck Ring, a single lap of Kaspats. We have a customized finish on the mountain route where C's and D's will finish at the Epic KOM banner and the A's and B's will finish at the top of a radio tower. All of those events are scratch races, so first over the line, before we have fastest segment time points races for the final 2 races of 6 laps of Seaside Sprint, 5 if you're in CLD, and 2 laps of Harrogate UCI in Yorkshire. Attendance looks to be fantastic. Eric Slange has already been in touch with me tonight saying he's just preparing the article as well, so that'll be up on Zwift Insider. There's a lot of excitement about this, and I'm really, really, really proud and very excited to see how many people are getting involved.
Yeah, it is genuinely really exciting, isn't it? Because we know we've got a load of cool people in the herd that race. We know a lot of those cool people are also ladies, and we know they got really excited about the Ladies Only League. Oh, and personally, I love reading the Penguin Post as well. So it looks like there's a load of people going to this. And actually, it looks like there's a bit of a gap, isn't there? Becky, you were saying to us in the week about this, that there isn't that much women's only racing that's well subscribed enough to make sure that the fields are kind of cool enough you want to ride in. But this looks really good.
It does. People seem super excited by it, and it does seem like a lot of people have signed up. Unfortunately, I'm going to be missing out as I've just started a sucky training program. But I will hopefully keep an eye on everyone else and all the fun that they're having.
Obviously, firstly, that's really sad, and really sad that you can't make it. We have, so bearing in mind it's Friday, and this doesn't start until Tuesday, we have 128 people signed up for the Europe race, which, just to put that into context, at the same time, on the same course, there is a mixed race. There are 4 sign-ups for that and 128 for the ladies, which is pretty epic, I'd say.
That's amazing. And James, I think this was a really good call. There really is not a lot of women's only races at all out there, and I don't think there's really anything for women's only series like this. So I understand the excitement, and I'm really proud of the herd in becoming such a big participant in the women's races the WTRL races were really what did it for the herd, but I'm really happy to see this moving over into the individual race as well.
Yeah, this is genuinely amazing. That sign-up's crazy. So I had a quick look while you were chatting at the Herd Summer Racing League events for tomorrow at 12 and tomorrow at 8 UK time. There's about 50 people at 12 and about 30 people signed up to 8. And we know the numbers will go up close to the times. There's 120 people signed up for a race that's happening on Tuesday. This is bonkers. So let's talk about that race. I mean, let's do what we do with the Heard Some Racing League and talk about that race. It's Bologna. It's a TT.
If you say bike swap, I'm going to go down to Bristol and kill you.
Bike swap. It's got to be a bike swap, hasn't it? No. So this is this is always just because it's a TT, but you can choose any bike you like. This is always a straightforward scrap, isn't it? And I don't think we've come between us to the answer of your best TT bike versus your best climbing bike.
The best TT bike is always the answer. I'm sorry that it's not a fight between any of them. Your best TT bike is the way to go.
I was about to get really adamant and say exactly the same words Rebecca said. Your best TT bike.
You can have a debate about the wheels if you like, but the TT bike, there's nothing against, you can't win if you're not riding a TT bike.
I'm on this 100%. So when you're talking with the bike swap, I will grant that especially for bigger power, lower watt per kilogram riders, say your big guys in D, it might be worth a bike swap because they're spending more time on the hill. But that's...
Are you going to save half a minute though?
No, I know. I still don't think so. It starts to get closer, but I still don't think so. I know Bowser loves the bike swap. The other thing is for some people that couple seconds of rest actually helps them on the hill as well. So it depends on the person, depends on a few things, but really I don't think the bike swap is enough.
I think also on that, having momentum going into that hill is so important, and losing that on the bike swap, I just can't see it working. I don't care, if you're a 100-kilo rider and you're doing 3.0 on the flats or 300 watts and you're looking to do 3.5 on the hill. You're going from a standing start, so that's going to cost you probably 10 seconds anyway, regardless of the 20 plus you've already lost. But TT bike whole way, I don't care what size you are. I think there's only one option.
I'm going to point out that when you hit a 12.5% hill, momentum counts for sweet FA, really. But the wheels is the interesting one, isn't it? So Zwift insiders say that the best TT bike and 858 is the better combination than the disco wheels, which is the fastest aero TT, and it gives you a second. So part of me thinks that just being on a bike that you think looks cool would give you more than a second, with somatic benefits of chasing pixels up hills. But that's me trying to be a scientist again. Becca, you're an actual scientist. What are you going for on this? When you said TT bike, which wheels did you go for? I
can't remember what I did last time. I didn't have disco rainbow wheels last time. I
think you went 858s. I remember talking about this at the time.
So I honestly
yeah, I think we were all in the same setup. I think it was Canyon Speed Max with the 858s.
I was not on that setup because that is not a setup I had. I went Tron because it's the pink Tron.
I'm not sure if the Canyon Speed Match existed then. I think the last time we did Bologna, it would have been Cervelo C5X.
I've definitely ridden the Canyon up Bologna.
Yeah, me too.
Fair enough.
The things you guys do for fun. So let's talk about this route. Basically, it's 6Ks flat and it's 2Ks up. And for most riders, and this seems to be fairly independent the category, doesn't it? You spend as long as on the flat as you do on the climb.
I think the climb's slightly shorter. I think I do 10 on the flat, 7 on the hill.
You need to go quicker on the flat, James.
Might be 9 on the flat, 8 on the hill, but I think you are, depending on your weight and your watts per kilo, I think you are on the flat slightly longer, but it's not a great amount.
So I think I actually spent more time on the hill than the flat the last several times I've done this, but that's because I've paced it horribly.
I do remember watching Craig blow up.
Me too.
So most people I've seen hit the 20-minute mark are doing a pretty round 10 minute, and it seems to scale upwards. I don't care about you people who do it stupidly quick. I'll be honest. So yeah, let's talk about pacing. When we talked about this previously for herd events, we said it's about it's an over-under, isn't it? Like any TT, you're looking to go slightly under FTP for the first 6Ks, hit the hill and go slightly over FTP. You can have a bit of an argument about how much you want to do that. And this is where you kind of know yourself as a TT rider. Some people will go 20% under to try and go 20% over. I really struggle to do more than about 10% over my FTP. And this is where I went wrong last time. I tried a 20-20 and I just couldn't go quick enough up the hill, and I did a disastrous time. I'd have been better off going slightly faster on the flat and saving the time there. So it's kind of working it out yourself, isn't it?
My best Bologna was -10 +20.
Just showing off there, James, aren't you? Good humble brag.
I'm absolutely certain Rebecca probably does +30.
Yeah, but my 1 minute and 5 minute power is really good compared to my 20-minute power. I think I went -30 +30.
But you don't take anywhere near 20 minutes.
Earlier in the day, and they did really well.
Yeah. So the last 2 times I think I did this, I was barely under FTP if I was under it at all on the flat, and it just doesn't work. You have to. So you can't, if you go too hard on the flat, you will pay. So that is the lesson I have learned, and that is the lesson everyone should learn from us.
And I think there's actually something in both what James has said in his humble brag and in Craig's motto, which is treat the hill like a prime. So you kind of get there. There's not that much to be gained by going a little bit faster or a lot faster on the flat. But there's a lot to be gained by going faster on the hill. So treat it like you've just got to get to that hill with enough legs that you can hammer the prime for the 2Ks and get up it as quickly as you can. And yeah, it's just about whether how fast can you go up that hill and getting there with the legs to it, really, isn't it? Right, what we're going to talk about next. ZRL. Craig, you in our pre-show notes, you wrote bread-RL. You did not write bread-RL. I'm not even drunk. You wrote ZRL wrap-up/broadcast tease. Please tease me with your broadcast and wrap up the ZRL for me.
Well, I'm going to talk about the wrap up first. So first, we had a terrifically successful season. We had a huge number of teams, and I am not going to say a number because I'm going to get it wrong because I didn't prepare that. So what we do have, though, is we have 9 teams in the playoffs. We have 1 more team that was tied and lost on a tiebreaker. And another 2 teams that won their division. And that's a minority of the teams that we had in it. So, and I really think from all the conversation we had, I rode with 2 different teams. I DS'd on 3 more teams, and everybody had a terrific time. So I really think the season was a success, and I'm really proud of how the herd did.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I did the Surrey Hills on Tuesday. I haven't been riding for a while. I'm now a C riding in a B race was a disastrous idea at the best of times. I finished 3rd from last because 2 people didn't leave the pen and Jonathan Wynn had power cut. So those are the only reasons I beat people. And yeah, a couple of the guys stayed on Discord until I finished. We had a good chat. It was really nice. And we've just had a really good experience in the teams in the Bees League as well for EMEA. I think that's been replicated, hasn't it?
I think you just what you said there about the fact that you came 3rd from last, yet all of your team stayed on Discord until you finished, just epitomises herd racing. That's all.
Becca, your team did really well, didn't they?
Oh, Becca, sorry.
It's not all about James' show. It's not the Pink James show, all right?
Seeing as we sort of weren't even sure we were going to get A teams together, and we managed to get 2, and none of us knew each other at the start. Like the guys don't shut up in group chat. Like we're racing HSRL tomorrow at 9 a.m. Like people are getting up at early in the mornings on like Saturdays and Sundays to race with each other, which they never would have done before, purely because we've met through ZRL. So I mean, it's done really, like, I that's just what the herd is about for me. So it's racing with people who you want to talk to outside of races, as well as when you are racing.
Didn't you also win your division?
No, we came second.
Oh.
By the way, the James Tron would be an amazing name. Please, can we call you that now? So I think what Becca said there is just like, that's what's really cool, isn't it? Is when you actually start, there's 3 or 4 or 5 people in HSRL or on a TT or something like just in an event, and you're like, oh, that's cool. And I love the feature on the companion. I'm waving my phone at a podcast. The feature on the companion app where you do the only Zwifters I follow, and you see, oh, like Becca's doing this race, or like Craig's in, like you just start seeing races people are in and actually doing a bit more because you see these people are riding, which is always cool. Craig, is that enough of a wrap up? Do you want to now talk about broadcast?
It's not enough of a wrap up. I've got more. So
more wraps.
What I want to do now is, because all of these riders, these teams, these captains have earned it. So the teams that are going to participate in the playoffs are in women's B1, the herd of Little Penguins and the herd of Skipper Butterflies. In women's C1, the herd of Gen 2 Penguins and the herd of Misfit Meerkats. And we've got an honorable mention that I'm going to throw in here because the herd of Madcap Meerkats in B were tied on points for second, but lost the tiebreaker. And then in the mixed, we have in C, the herd mentality, and in D, the herd of slippery seahorses, herd of one-trick ponies, herd of fighting Frisians, and the herd of charging coursers.
I don't know what the results are for the other teams, but I know the herd mentality won 7 out of 8 of the races, which sounded pretty good.
They did. And yeah, all of these teams finished. In order to qualify for the playoffs, these 9 teams all finished first or second in a 1 division in their time slot. So B1, C1, or D1. So congratulations to them. Now, to throw out a couple more, we had 2 other division winners. So in America's East C3 mixed, the herd of Trusty Steeds won their division. And in women's EMEA C5, the herd of Macaroni Penguins won their division. So
I love the penguin names. They're so good.
I was going to say, Becca, I don't know what I enjoy more, is hearing people winning or just hearing how creative and cool people are with the names. I don't know, I do know. It's 100% how creative and cool people are about the names. I couldn't care less about winning. So we'll do broadcasting. I think it's important, actually. What I really love about how people are learning how to race with each other as well. And like you said, Craig, you went and DS'd a load of teams. There'll be people who jumping in and being like, have you tried this? I want to give a special mention out to one of our friends actually on ZRL, who in my kind of not regular Panache of the week, Panache goes to Matt de Freitas, who attacked up the second climb on Surrey Hills. So with about 30 Ks and 3 climbs to go, and solo breakaway to the finish from 30 Ks out. Panache of the week, definitely you, Matt de Freitas, and awesome to hear about that. So well done. Craig, is it time for the tease of the broadcast?
it's time for the tease. So we are going to do a broadcast. So the courses even were announced. So there's going to be a team time trial on Out and Back again, and then a points race on Sand and Sequoias. So the broadcast is going to be a little bit different this season than it was in season 2, because they're going to do, now I can't remember, I think the women have the TTT on Saturday and the men on Sunday, and it starts half an hour before the points race for the other gender. So that's, we're going to, I think our plan right now is to kind of cover the start of each TTT and not the whole race, which is nice because for season 2, James and I really struggled to talk for that long.
Talking about a team time trial for an hour straight is like one of the hardest things I've done in my entire life. I think Craig and I explained how TTTs worked at least 5 times.
I like the fact that you apologise for there not really being a plan. And if anyone's regularly listening to this or watching the broadcast, they would 100% appreciate there is never a plan. So great broadcast tease. Looking forward to that. Be on the YouTube channel as normal. Do we need people to volunteer to be watched, or are you just watching those teams that are in the playoffs?
I think we're going to just watch everybody that's in the playoffs. I don't think we'll move around as we need to and go from there. I think anybody that's in this race is going to be watched, I think, either by us or Zwift Community Live or somebody. So
amazing. And who's doing the commentary on this one? So I know some of us aren't involved because we have jobs and lives, and well, no, we don't. But some of us just don't have enough time to do it. So who's going to be the commentary team for this?
I think it's Craig and I, and potentially you.
Oh, well, I think this was a kind of call out for volunteers. I know Bowser joined in last time. I know Ben Poynton's always good value, and anyone who just wants to randomly chat rubbish about Zwift for an hour.
Well, so I think
you meet the criteria.
I think Claire and Grace maybe are interested in being involved again. They both did it for the season 2 broadcast we did. So that's where we're going to start. And if we need to reach out, we'll find somebody else.
Yeah, I think if anyone's listening tonight that is really up for joining us in talking inane rubbish for probably about 2 hours, please get in touch. We need your help.
Surprisingly for somebody who listens to this show, we need the help to talk inane rubbish. We do have a finite amount of rubbish before we just start shouting animal names at each other, don't we, James?
Anaconda.
So what's annoyed us about Zwift this week? I'm going to go first on this one because I'm talking and that allows me to. Zwift hasn't annoyed me this week. IRL has annoyed me this week. So I did an ITT in the real world on Thursday. It won't surprise anyone to hear that I wasn't able to use my TT bike because I got to it and it had no pedals on, so I had to use my road bike. And a chap also doing the TT got knocked off his bike about 100 meters from the finish by someone who knocked him off hard enough to break their wing mirror off, broke this guy's collarbone and didn't stop. So what a dick. Whilst there are dicks on Zwift, and we mention them quite often, and there are some people in Zwift who probably fit that category as well, the stuff that they decide to do with the platform, none of them have driven a car into another human being and not stopped. So a bit of, we like to grumble about things, but that's something proper for me to grumble about this week. Who wants to go next?
I will go on the Olympic schedule. It's very nice that there are chase events, there are various other things, but there is nothing new at all. Everything that's on the schedule, I could set up. I would like to see something that's a little bit different, has something actually to do with the Olympics, because the New World, you know, whilst parts of it might look a bit like Japan, it isn't Japan. There's no Olympic route on there at all. There's nothing innovative. Zwift are a tech, I suppose they're not even a startup anymore, but generally from tech companies, we like to see innovation rather than just regurgitating what they've been doing for the last 3 years. You know, it's nice they're doing something for the Olympics, just like they do something for every other single occasion in the entire year. There's nothing new there.
Wouldn't a points race have been lovely?
Wouldn't it just? Or
something like that.
An elimination event as well, because I'm fairly certain
they'd have to fix sandbagging for elimination races to work, wouldn't they? And that's a whole new conversation.
Interestingly, actually, on that note, so RGT has an elimination mode, and I saw quite a bit of grumbling earlier about a bunch of what we'd call A-cap riders entering the B-cap or a mix of B and C elimination race, and they don't appear to have a solution to it. So different platforms, same issues.
And that's it. We definitely need to have a longer chat about how you'd fix sandbagging, but and I've probably said that before. Becca, what's annoyed you this week?
I don't really have too many gripes with Zwift this week. I've taken my training outdoors mostly, but really a positive thing is being able to import my training plan into Zwift, because it makes it far more interesting than watching the little lines go up and down Train Road, which, you know, at least I do get to look at some vague scenery, even if most of the time it is Tempest Fugit. So, yeah.
I've got an image of you, Abe Simpson style, shaking your fist at a cloud now, as you get annoyed with the outside interfering with your training plan.
Luckily, there's a nice closed road of like 40k by me, so training plan is wonderful for the next 2 weeks until.
Oh, nice. And Craig, well, how about you? You? The whiteboard is primed again. I can see. Oh, Craig has also put himself on mute. In classic
So the
Craig
whiteboard is primed. I'm not.
We've made it 8 shows in without you fucking the sound up, Craig.
Finally managed it. Okay, so I don't have much personally. I basically haven't been Zwifting other than races. I've been riding around at the BMX track and riding to work and things like that. So it's great. But there's kind of 2 things that have been bugging me. One, people stressing out. Don't stress out. People have been messaging me and they're stressed out about bike choice or getting disconnected in a race or a WKG disqualification. Old thing, I hate the WKG tag, but that's an old thing. But all of this, don't worry about it. It's a game. Have fun. If you get a WKG, move up to the next category. Have fun in your next race. The other thing, the mob mentality of people jumping on and harassing people, creating stress on Zwift, which is supposed to be fun. And yeah, don't.
On that note, I like to see the herd, but I do see the herd as a warm, welcoming place where it's a safe haven for Zwifters of the world. I would sincerely like to believe there is a lack of mob mentality within that group, and I certainly don't ever want to see that happening in the Herd Racing League or the herd.
I mean, the only mob mentality in the herd is when people start mooing at each other,
Yeah.
really, isn't it? So, yeah, that's cool. And we should definitely do, I think, a podcast after the week after the final race. And let's just talk about the fact that Zwift's a game and how we make it a better game. And some of those fun topics that we've discussed in the past and maybe don't have time. And fun things we'd improve about the game would be cool. Craig is pointing at BMX mode, and I'm already shaking my head at that and velodrome.
So I have three things that are not annoying me. 3 things that I'm loving about biking this week. One is BMX. I'm back on my BMX track. I'm progressing in skills, and my kids are out loving their new bikes, and I'm having a great time.
I will also say that, yeah, I've been riding my BMX this week and it is super fun. It is so much fun, and I can't believe it's taken me this long to get into it because it is so good.
Heard of rad.
Oh yeah.
Next, the Niner You Are What You Drink top cap. This is the most fun customization for a bike that I found. Replace your top cap and you can put a bottle cap from your beer on it. There is a Moosehead bottle cap going on my bike. And the next one is the Zwift Racing League break. As much as we had a great season, I love Zwift Racing League. It's a lot of fun. It's also a bit more serious, a bit of a grind. We all start to take it a little bit too seriously, and it starts to be more stress and less fun. And I think a break between season 3 and season 4 was a good decision. So I'm behind that.
Cool. Well, that's a good note to end on. So I'm going to say thanks to all of you for coming along. Thanks, folks.
Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.
And we'll say the same to everyone who's listening, all 12 of you. Cheers.